first announcement I want to make is that next week we are going to do 2 webinars, one at 10 o'clock and another at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So if you miss a live webinar at 10 o'clock, feel free to come and join us at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and we'll have those recordings on our YouTube channel. As always, Amanda is standing by, putting links into the chat. So if you are confused or don't know where that YouTube channel link is, she's going to pop that in so that you have that. And don't forget to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar so that you can get your professional growth for this webinar, and also just so you can let us know what topics you would like to see in the future. We really appreciate you being here today. We're here to talk about virtual classroom management. Well, Marnie, we're in the groove, aren't we? We're in the swing. Students are now starting to do things like type in some weird things in the chat, or maybe act up in ways that we weren't really used to, being that it's a virtual environment. So today, I don't know about you guys, but today we're going to talk about some ways to build your classroom relationships so that hopefully those little cherubs will respect you and not want to add little extras to make our life a little bit more challenging. Our lives are challenging enough, right, Marnie? Like it's time to get some strategies together so that our lives can be a little less challenging when we are managing students in the classroom. As always, we are GCU Canyon Professional Development, and we have PD with Purpose. We're excited to be here with you. And Ryan Bradow, sorry, Ryan, if I'm butchering your name there, he will be with us to pray with us at the end of our lesson today. So we are very grateful for his expertise and prayerful companionship today. This is our team, so we're excited to, there's Ryan right there in the center. So you can see all of us, and just know that we are behind you every step of the way, walking alongside of you. I am Corey Raza, the STEM Outreach Director, K12, and I've got some experience in teaching in the classroom, as well as managing a computer lab, our IT media space in a large high school. So hopefully I can impart some information about managing lots of different classes at once. Marnie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
And I'm Marnie Landry, the K12 STEM Outreach Manager, and I taught high school science for 16 years and STEM integration, project-based learning, and all of that.
And all of that. And now we're teaching virtual management. Carolyn Flora is also joining us. This is a new member of our team. We're so excited to have her on board. Lots of great elementary school practice in her repertoire. Carolyn, would you like to jump on and introduce yourself?
I sure would. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today. Just a little background about myself. I was a classroom teacher for over 20 years, and then I was also able to support teachers through being a reading coach as well as a district ELA coach. And I also have experience in curriculum development and just professional development in general.
We are so excited to have you, Carolyn. Thank you for gracing us, gracing our team with all of your expertise. Y'all are going to be really excited because next week, Carolyn will be talking about the virtual elementary school classroom. She's going to jump right in and take control of next week's webinar. Obviously, we'll be here in support, but just in case you're an elementary school teacher or you know elementary school teachers, make sure that they are on board for next week's webinar. It's going to be fantastic. So as with everything that we do, we want to make sure that you know why we do it. Our K12 Outreach and Support why is to empower, educate, and inspire our community so that they take action to fulfill their purpose and serve others. So that's why we're here, and we hope that you take action after today's webinar to serve others in your community. So we're going to start today with a quote that we feel goes well with our topic today, and it is by Greg Mortensen, who wrote the book 3 Cups of Tea, if you're interested in reading a little bit more about his philanthropic work. But he says, slow down and make building relationships as important as building projects. I think it's an important thing, quote to think about, especially as I'm talking a mile a minute, I perhaps should slow down, right? Building projects is what we tend to do as teachers. Get that curriculum in, make sure our students have what they need to be able to pass the proverbial test. But especially right now, and yesterday we heard from from an expert named Jean Mandernack, and her presentation at Lunch and Learn for the Principals Collaborative Community is also located in our YouTube channel. And she really came to us to talk about the research in online learning. Interestingly, what she really talked about was emergency crisis teaching, which is what we're doing right now. And her message was truly, do the best you can. And I think that slowing down and building relationships is exactly where we need to be. So when we start to think about virtual classroom management, I really want to put that word relationship out front and center, so that what we really remember is right now, things are not normal. Things are strange and different, and slowing down can really make a great difference to that. Marnie, did you want to mention anything to that?
No, except you're right, things are strange. My dogs are even acting strange, so.
When the dogs start acting strange, we know, because the humans are definitely acting strange if the dogs are picking up on that, right? Oh my goodness. Thank you. So today our objectives are the following. We want to understand classroom building differences in face-to-face versus virtual environments. That F2F, you'll see that in some of my tweets and my Facebook posts. That's face-to-face interaction versus virtual environments. It is different, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to learn 3 proven strategies for virtual management and learning tools that support them. Then hopefully you can evaluate our session and earn the PD certificate, and then we'll have a closing prayer by Ryan Bradow. So thank you for being here again, Ryan. We appreciate it. I love this tool. Marnie has this in each one of her professional development sessions. What tools will you take with you today? So we want you to start to think about right in the very beginning, what tools can you take with you? So in the spirit of classroom management, if you all would pop in the chat, who would be the tool master today? If you would like to be our tool master, please feel free to pop it in the chat right now. Tell us who you are. Carol is standing by waiting for some lucky person to jump up and be our participant and be our tool master, if you don't mind.
Yes, I'll be the tool master, but I also just wanted to quickly remind people that this is being recorded. So just know that the event today is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel later today. Thank you.
And the job of the tool master is just to kind of take note of each of the tools that we introduce during the workshop, and then at the very end just kind of summarize and like repost in the chat box all of the tools that we introduce for your use. So that's the job of the tool master.
And you don't need like to remember all the tools. So if you're feeling stressed out because, you know, oh my, what if I don't remember? What if I had to go, you know, take a bio break or something? Don't worry. Just one tool is just fine. Right, Marnie?
And we say, don't worry, because we're doing the best we can.
Absolutely.
And that's all we're all trying to do. All right.
So yes, thank you. Thank you. So Carol, let us know if we need to make another all call for a tool master. Carol and Amanda are monitoring that chat, waiting for our tool master. So we love this strategy. It's a great tool for your students to be kept aware and paced throughout your lessons. So consider assigning a tool master. So speaking of tools, this is a technology tool. Let's go ahead and use MentiMeter. This is our first tool, tech tool that I'd like to show you. And I'd like you to go to menti.com. If you go to menti.com, it should look something like that. I'm going to keep this on here. And the code itself should be...
I put the menti.com in the chat.
Oh, did you put the code in the chat?
Yeah, no, not the code, just the menti.com so far.
Oh, okay. So
those of you who are participants, you do it on your phone. There it is, my phone. You can do it in another tab on the screen. You can do it in another window. You can do it in another browser. So have something else open in order to go to menti.com.
And so you're seeing the back of the back of the house here. I'm in the teacher presentation part of it, and I'm going to go ahead and click present. Once I click present, you'll see right there, I want you to use this code 911810. So go ahead and go to that code or go to menti.com, and I'm going to do it on my phone just so I am pacing myself correctly so that I know how long it takes my students to get to where I want them to be. So I'm typing in menti.com, and I'm not there yet because my internet's slow, right? So 91. Remember that your kid's internet might not be super fast, so give them a little time. And there we go. I've got it. I put my code in. Oh, and here's my question. What are your top 3 go-to management strategies in the classroom? So I'm talking about face-to-face classroom, right? So I like this one. Let's see. I also like this one, and I like this one.
So Corey, what kind of controls does MentiMeter have in the background if you're going to use this in the classroom or in a virtual class?
Great question, Marnie. Thanks for asking. So I'll go back over, let's see. So I'm here and I'm just kind of checking out what you have. And so before I hit escape, well, actually, let me go ahead and see if I can. So I'm in real time in my controls, so you can kind of see what's happening here. What sort of controls do you have? Well, first of all, very important, the free version, you only get 2 slides. But another neat piece is you can change the type of question that you have. And if I click type here, you can kind of see you have multiple choice, a word cloud, open-ended, different sorts of scales. I think what you're asking is controls, like do I see a report at the end of my poll?
Not even that high level. Just if I was going to use this in class, like what's the most important thing? Can I control what students are typing, or with the free version, is it just anonymous, you know, just for the beginning teacher?
Really good question. And it is anonymous of the free version. You're not going to be you don't have a lot of back end control, but you can certainly immediately. So if I hit escape and I see some words that I'm not super happy about, I can either toss it, I can reset my results right here. So I can download my results, or I can reset. So I can immediately reset and then have students type in again. So very good point, Marnie. The free version doesn't give you a whole lot of control. MentiMeter was actually a platform that is used for conferences and sort of adult style learner. It started in business, but what's really neat about MentiMeter is they've got an education category. So you can create, there's some MentiMeters that you can just kind of steal, and they're great. For example, like thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. What's your check for understanding? You do a quick MentiMeter for that. So good question. Did I answer that appropriately?
Sure, yeah. And you know what I like? I see the biggest one in the middle, your best classroom management strategy. The biggest one there is engagement. Yeah, keeping students engaged seems to make all those other problems go away.
And it goes right alongside with the relationship, right? So I see a lot of these words, connect. So that's active engagement, routines, reflection. I'm not seeing jam in content. Are you, Marnie? Not student choice. Popsicle sticks, interesting, right? That's really allows students, you know, so it's like kind of that fair piece where you're able to get more than just the hogs, the logs, and the frogs, right? The hogs, that would be me, hogging all the attention. The logs, they don't want to talk at all, and the frogs who can bounce in between. So we're trying to increase our frog mentality, right? So thank you so much for chiming in there. Oh, I like that concept of a chime. Just to kind of change and transition. Really great strategies. And I think the point of this activity was so that you can see some of these words, that exactly what you do in the face-to-face classroom, this is what we do in the virtual classroom. So thank you for sharing those words with us. So just really quickly, you just used a tech tool. So we had the toolbox, like what are some of the strategies, and that doesn't have to be technology. But I want you to take just a minute, and if you, Amanda's gonna pop this link into the chat. This link looks like this. This is called our tech tool takeaway. And you'll see something that looks like this. So it's a Google Drive copy document. If you click make a copy, and she'll pop that right in the chat for you. If you click this make a copy, I'm gonna show you where it goes. Marnie has created a really great takeaway, it's kind of a reflection piece to your lesson. So right now, you all have a copy of this reflection piece, and we'd like you to take a moment and tell yourself, really, you're not going to share this right now. You could have this shared if you were sharing a Google Doc with your students, for example. But we'd like you to just put down, what did you learn from MentiMeter? How could you use MentiMeter in your classroom? Was it easy? Did you like it? Is it something that you find valuable? So just, and there's 12 spots there. You can fill them up, or you can just put a few things, but I really love this workshop takeout. What did you take out from this particular tool? And we're gonna just pause for a minute and listen to the chat. If anybody could put in the chat any sort of comments about MentiMeter, or this is a great time to ask a question about it. Marnie asked a question about, what's the back end? Let us answer those questions for you right now. So we're in the workshop takeout.
Right, and if you're a teacher and administrator and you've made a copy of this, you can take out the words that say workshop takeout, and that could be used for a student, for a classroom. And that could be an ongoing document that students could reflect on something new that they learned with their teacher. And then each time they learn something new, they can add a little reflection to it. So you can think about it that way.
And Tina, what do you mean by freebie changes? And hey, do you have questions how we work? Is that sort of like doing some assessment in classroom, or is that is that for something else that I?
That was about MentiMeter. Just saying that they have great updates. They make changes all the time, and they use feedback.
Awesome.
Hey, who else uses feedback? We do. Remember, at the end, we're going to have a survey, and in those survey questions, we request that you give us some feedback. What are some new topics you're interested in? What can we do better? How can we better support you? So we value your feedback.
And it's really important, just the word feedback, right, for your own students, to really encourage them to give you the feedback. And students are not always going to type in that chat, so maybe asking them to say it out loud would be a lot more beneficial. In adult learning, like we are here, if you feel like popping something into the chat, we really appreciate that. But we're not going to ask you to do it if it's not something that you're feeling comfortable with, right? But in your student environment, you do want to hold them accountable to a degree, more so just to ask if they're there, right? And to let them know that you care and that they matter, that their voice matters. So as much as you can encourage them to participate in the chat or a verbal conversation, the better the lesson is going to be. Yesterday, again, Jean had mentioned student-to-student contact is really important in online learning. Student-to-content contact is important, and student-to-instructor contact is important. So you can say contact or connection, but those three pieces, the research tells us, are important in virtual learning. Student-to-student, student-to-content, and student-to-instructor. Okay, so if the hyperlinks here.
We probably should get moving on.
Yep. All right, so it looks like MentiMeter was pretty easy to use today. So we're going to continue on and talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, being our kind of basis grounded in our theory, our educational theory that really focuses our attention on building relationships and the importance of building relationships and building our class virtual versus in person, right? So if our students' physiological needs are not taken care of right now in this day and age of COVID-19, number one, if they're sick, that they're not going to be thinking about school as much. If their parents just lost a job, if they can't get online because their parents are working online, all of these things affect that pyramid, as we know as educators. And getting up to those higher levels of the pyramid is going to be even much more challenging. So again, as we had said before, the best we can is where we want to go. Marnie, did you want to add to that? No. Okay, so we're going to give you some strategies here. Positive student-teacher relationships require procedures and consistency. I'm also going to let you know that this is all coming from Marzano's Classroom Management That Works, and to change it or tweak it a little bit for the virtual classroom, discussion stems. This is also a takeaway. Let's see if I can link on there. So this is a document that Marnie has created for you all as well, and this is very helpful oftentimes for older students in entering the conversation. For example, an idea I have is, this is great for a chat. For example, you could pop in one of these discussion stems into the chat and ask students to start there, because oftentimes students don't know how to start a conversation. Marnie, you can jump in anytime you'd like.
It's just, you know, good classroom practice. What you would do in person still works virtually, and we just need to remind students that still practicing the same procedures and our same norms that we do in person. And so sentence stems are really helpful for adults too.
They absolutely are. And so some of these pieces you can use in chat or ask them to start with a sentence stem. It's a great way to get them writing well as well. So this is for you. And also, if you scrolled all the way down to the bottom here, you can click on here, and this is the accountable talk cards. And that right there allows you to check out some kind of an elementary version of this. So I believe, because, I agree with, because. This allows children to kind of verbalize their feelings. It's a great way to do that. Tell me more when you're asking them to produce some writing. So really great strategies there, and those are for you. All of this will be available in the discussion notes in the YouTube channel. So don't forget, that's where they'll be. All right, so Carolyn's going to jump in and talk a little bit about what really has worked in the elementary school classroom for that strategy number 1, which is consistency of procedure. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you so much. So as I was reflecting on this, it really came to me that teachers have already been using wonderful tech tools to communicate with parents, to build relationships. And what's really important is that we remember, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Just because we're not instructing our kids daily in the classroom doesn't mean we can't use some of those same resources and tech tools that we've been using. For example, we have Class Dojo. I visit many elementary school classrooms, and I know that lots of teachers have really enjoyed using Class Dojo to support their classroom management and to communicate with parents. Moving into the virtual world, I have heard that teachers are struggling at times with that classroom management. There's no reason why you can't still use this resource. The information goes directly to parents, and they know how their student is doing in the virtual classroom. In addition to that, though, I would like to share that I believe that many elementary school teachers were probably using Class Dojo on a more of a superficial level. They were using just that classroom management piece. However, they offer multiple other resources to support remote learning. In fact, when I was doing a little investigation, I found that there is a great 3-minute video that talks about all the different things that you can do on Class Dojo to support your remote learning. One of the things that I thought would be extremely useful was the fact that you are able to make up to 8-minute videos. Those can then be shared and go directly to, what I love, a cell phone. We know that even though students might not have devices at home, such as laptops or Chromebooks, a lot of parents at least have cell phones with internet service. And these videos, you could do short lessons, just a little discussion, they can go straight to a cell phone. And I think that's a really great resource. So when you have a minute, go ahead and check out that 3-minute video. And I think you're going to learn that there's a lot more possible with Class Dojo than you might have originally thought.
I have a question, Carolyn. So what if a school already has an LMS? Would you like to use Class Dojo as well? What is the benefit of Class Dojo outside of some of those other clunky LMSs?
Yeah, I think that Class Dojo, for one, is very user-friendly. I also think that parents are really familiar with apps, and therefore they'd be able to support their students a little more easily. It's something that they could download. We're used to doing that in our daily lives, where sometimes the classroom management systems, like you said, are a little clunky, and we get messages coming from different places, and it's just a little more confusing. So I think it might be a little more streamlined, and a lot of communication could take place instantly.
I think so too.
And again, it's great for the blended classroom. So when we do go back to face-to-face, this is a fantastic way to communicate with your parents. I just think it's so fun as a parent to be able to see, oh, okay, my kid's at 100%. Okay, truth be told, my kid was never at 100%, but still, I really enjoyed seeing. And then I could show my kid and say, 76%. What happened today, buddy? Let's work on that.
Well, the other thing I wanted to add really quickly too is that if teachers were to send out an assignment, students are actually able to record short voice messages and respond to their teacher verbally, which I think is amazing. And in addition to that, they're able to upload documents too. So in this one little app that you're able to have on your phone, you're able to do so many different things and reach so many people.
Nice.
Thank you, Carolyn. And then you have another tool that you'd like to talk a little bit about.
The other one is Remind. Once again, it's, I think, a resource that many teachers have already used, and not only elementary, it's totally applicable for middle school, high school. Basically, it's just an app where you're able to communicate with parents. I think it's really important that during this time, we make sure that our communication with parents is easily understood, that they're able to navigate through all the communication. Personally, I have multiple children of my own, and I know I was inundated with emails, and some of them, I'll tell you, I opened, I glanced at, and I moved on because I probably had 15 to 20 in my inbox. With this Remind app, not only can the teacher have ongoing communication with parents, but also you can enable the app to where parents can communicate with other parents. And what a great way to keep that communication going, as well as maybe taking a little of the pressure off you, because instead of me as a parent having to always come to the teacher, I have the opportunity to reach out to other parents.
So it sounds like it's a good community building tool as well.
Excellent. And in addition to just that communication feature, on Remind, you also have the ability to upload documents and things like that. So what a wonderful way if a parent says, oh, I know that, little Johnny is supposed to be doing this math worksheet. We can't find it, or we lost it. The teacher can simply upload the document and it's right there. And I do see some.
Go ahead, Marty.
I just see some comments about SISs in the chat. And I do understand that, but I know that some of those tools just are not user-friendly, or you may be using them, but the parents just can't seem to make them work and are just having trouble. And I use Remind heavily as a classroom teacher and a club advisor, and I loved it. And it was secure. I didn't have student phone numbers. They didn't have my phone number, yet we were able to text. It was really nice. So,
and I was going to say, Marnie, if anybody has some advice in the chat, if you cannot use Remind, could you tell us that you can't and why you cannot? Like maybe your principal has said, here's why you can't. That would be really helpful for others that might be battling the same situation. I know that at the school that I was at, it was very local control. Like as long as your principal knew you were communicating with Remind, and he or she was aware of the communications that you had with your students, it was a-okay. But maybe if you want to add in the chat, if there is a challenge with Remind or Class Dojo, why there might be a challenge, that would help everybody else.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I know from a parent's perspective, one thing that I liked about Class Dojo was I had multiple kids whose teachers were using it. And when I would access it on my phone, I could clearly tell who the messages were coming in for. So whether it were this child or this child. Like I said, when I get the email correspondence from schools, I just see the name of our school district, and it's more sifting through, where it was a lot easier for me to figure out what correspondence was for who using some of these apps.
Great. Thank you so much, Carolyn. We really appreciate your expertise in that area and having that not only as a teacher, but as a parent of several children. Am I right? Like, is it easier to use Remind than email, for example? That's what I just put in the chat. Like, I have email overload syndrome. I don't know about anybody else, but that probably would help in having, with your own children as well. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for jumping on and talking to us about those great tools that have been proven to really work. And we're at our second strategy, and that really is awareness of our environment. This strategy is all about establishing a learning mindset. So again, how do you establish that for your children? And I think that a lot of us now, as we're kind of in the swing of things, have started to ask our students or maybe ask our children, where is your space? Where is your learning space? So what sorts of things might you do to set up that learning mindset? And as you can see here, we've got, we're different at home, and you at home is different than you at school, right? And especially your students. So I've heard a couple of teachers now who have been online and have asked parents, please make sure your child is clothed before he or she is on our Zoom chat, right? It's just a little different, but those norms of society that are for adults are also for children. So this is a great way to teach them what is a societal norm and why is that important that we wear a shirt to class. And that goes for teachers as well, right? If we look like we've rolled out of bed and haven't brushed our hair or our teeth, our students are probably not going to take us as seriously because there's that mindset of, wait a minute, am I really in school? My teacher looks like she's having a pajama party. And granted, on pajama party days, very important to keep the school spirit rolling. But generally speaking, you want to look at, how your outward appearance is, but also how are you setting up your environment? And my goodness, it's hard to set up an environment, right? I'm in an office that doubles as a guest room. So I've got two different things happening here, but I've got my little bubble, my little space. It doesn't have to be a lot, but I'm going to set my learning mindset. Marnie or Carolyn, you guys want to add something to this awareness of environment?
I just want to highlight what you said, thinking about yourself. I know I'm not the same person when I'm in my house as when I'm in front of a live classroom. And as adults, it's easy for us to sometimes recognize that, but for students, they've never experienced this before, and we don't know what they're dealing with at home. So it might be really even hard for them to transition into that learning mindset when there's a whole set of, there's just other things happening at home that really interfere with that. So being understanding and realizing that if the student's not coming to the virtual learning environment, what you consider ready, they're doing the best they can. They're doing the best they can. And it's here for us to model that and just help coax them in the right direction.
Yeah, self-care is not something that everybody takes seriously. I think we often don't think about it, right? We go through our day, parents are trying to do this or that, and maybe your child's not eating before they get onto their virtual environment, and that can affect us, right? I have a glass of water here next to me. I had breakfast this morning. All those things are just an element of self-care. So I would highly recommend having this quiet workspace. It sets the tone. Consider a virtual background. Carolyn was just talking to us about how much fun her daughter was having with virtual backgrounds. And that's what Marty and I both have. You can see that we've got our virtual background. And I'm going to give you a little taste. I'm going to just lean back my chair. You see, this is just a little green screen, but behind me, we got the bedroom, / office going on. So the fun part is to add that virtual background, and you can even do it, for example, if you're a world language teacher and you want to go to Spain for your, Spanish lesson, give each kid a JPEG of, maybe Toledo or somewhere fun, and say, today we're going to Spain. And maybe if you're just in an elementary school classroom and you're learning about science, maybe you want to put like a NASA background or something, and lots of fun. And I'll do a tip of the day in our YouTube channel about virtual backgrounds in Zoom and how you do that. But really, it's quite simple, and it's just really about putting a virtual background behind your video screen. Carol, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to share that in the chat, Marian shared that they do a virtual spirit week. That could be a fun to do with your background, right? A virtual background to go with whatever the spirit week or spirit day is.
Great
cool idea.
Yeah, Marian, that's a great idea. Thank you, Carol, for jumping on and letting us know that. And so those are great pieces to just optimal learning. Set that environment and the mindset. And our strategy number 3 is instilling student responsibility. And here it is. We've had a lot of requests for this particular topic. How do we make sure they're accountable online? teachers are really struggling with this right now. And we're going to go back to the first thing we said, which was do the best you can as a teacher. This is not normal. This is emergency crisis teaching. It's not a normal teaching online. As Jean Mandernack said to us, it's 140 hours to create a quality virtual classroom. It's 140 hours for a course. We're not doing that here. We are doing the best we can, and we're using the strategies that we already have. So instilling student responsibilities, let's just put it out there. What are our virtual expectations? So again, another tool for you here is a nice list of this virtual school expectations. It's something that you can use in your school, and you can also, as Marnie had put at the top there, add your school name, your district mission and vision. It's very important to be aligned with your district or your school's mission and vision. Make sure that you don't omit that from your classroom management expectations. They're there to support you, to help you, and to be there when something does go wrong. So make sure that you are aligning your vision with theirs. So here's some good examples. Students, for student expectation, for example, know that everything you do in virtual school is recorded and saved. And again, just like this presentation, it will be recorded and saved on YouTube. It's not going anywhere. So I have to make sure that what I do is of quality, because it's not going anywhere. It'll be there in 2022, perhaps, and somebody's going to be checking it out, right? So, and I hope it's of value. The structure, cameras are on unless you're asked to turn them off. When finishing speaking, mute your mic. You know, all those pieces of etiquette, just like we teach them in the classroom, it's really important to teach the etiquette in the virtual classroom as well. So if I were to scroll down here, we've got parents and guardians. This is important that parents also have virtual expectations, right? Communicate with us to let us know what is and is not working on your end so that we can work to improve the virtual experience. Good communication in both directions is equivalent to success. And that's why things like Remind and Class Dojo are excellent resources to be able to increase that communication. What works for one person may not work for another. Marnie, did you want to jump in?
No, I was just laughing at something in the chat. Someone said, yes, even in 2022, you will be able to see it. And there's the link to our YouTube channel. So
Thanks,
no, just the last part about parents and teachers. Of course, many of your districts probably, I know that many districts were kind of slow ramping up the last couple of weeks. So hopefully your district has something like this. If they don't, this is a start for you. You can make a copy of this and change as needed. You could send this to them so they can actually build something. So it's just a starting place, but I think it's important to realize it's the student, it's the parent, and the teacher, and we have to be working together in order to maintain any kind of educational setting and to move forward in the best way we can.
And this, at the very end here by Dr. Comer, significant learning happens only when there are significant relationships. Really, really key to keep that in the viewpoint of your virtual classroom expectations. So thank you so much for creating all those great topics or all those great tools for our learners, Marnie. And our future webinar topics, we kind of went through those. Before I go into the future topics, let me go back and hit our objectives just to make sure that you guys, you know, our tool master is feeling good about this. So if we looked at our objectives here, we've got here, well, did we understand building classroom differences in face-to-face versus virtual environments today? Did we learn 3 proven strategies for virtual management and learning tools that support them? So we talked a little bit about creating the environment of learning. We talked about those strategies for virtual classroom expectations for student accountability, and we talked about procedures and consistency and how important those were. So hopefully we hit the objectives. And there's that toolbox again. So we're going to talk to our tool master in just a minute. Whoops. Let me keep going here. We talked a little bit about Maslow and why that's important, and we ground ourselves, everything we do, in our educational theory. And I just did it again. Here we go. So with that said, we've got some future webinar topics. As I said at the beginning of our webinar today, we do have the virtual elementary school classroom coming to you live next week, 2 times, 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on April 15th. We look forward to seeing you for that. Please tell all of your elementary school teacher friends, and I would just say your friends who have children of elementary school age. I think that would be a fantastic webinar for them. On the 22nd, we have Motivating the Virtual Learner. Yes, motivation is challenging in face-to-face environments, so it's even more so in virtual environments. We're going to attack that topic for you. That has been a topic of request. And then we are asking for your feedback. April 29th and May 6th, what is your feedback? We're going to send that survey link out to you again. If you fill out that survey, there's a piece there that asks, what topic would you like us to attack? And we'd be happy to have that topic for you. So with that said, I've got that toolbox and the takeout carrier there to remind me to ask our tool master. Carol, did we get a tool master of the day?
I think Carol was going to be our tool master.
I thought I was supposed to be the tool master, but if I had to say, I think that there'd be a tight race probably between Tina and Miriam. They were sharing tools, and then I don't know, Mike picked it up at the end there. He was really putting some good stuff in there. I don't know if you saw about that, the nationwide field day on May 8th. Mike, you must be a PE teacher, but pretty darn awesome. So I was trying to keep track of tools. I'll post them in the chat, and people can grab the message and pull them out.
Okay.
Thank you, Carol. And here you go. I'm just going to show a few tools. There's a tool that we used. Obviously, the Takeout tool is another one. We have Class Dojo as a tool. We have our discussion stems. We have our accountability cards. We have MentiMeter. Oh my goodness, we've got Remind. There's a lot of tools that we shared with you today, and hopefully that's not too many that is overwhelming. Go ahead, Marnie, you were going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we also want to let you know what is GCU doing to support you and your students, maybe just even for something a little different. We have GCU Live Tours, experiences, and webinars, and this is not an interactive schedule, more so because some of these Zoom links are specific to the college. And so what you can do to get an interactive linked schedule for what you're interested in is you can click here in the chat box. Amanda will put in, it's actually an email. It's seainbox@gcu.edu. She's going to pop that in there. So if you are interested in taking any of those live tours or learning a little bit more about, say, the College of Business or STEM or pre-health or club sports, please email that inbox and we will get you to exactly what you want to know. So if you just say, gosh, I'm interested in STEM tours at GCU, once you send an email off, we'll get you to exactly what you need to know for those. So we appreciate GCU for our traditional campus for really stepping up and adding all of these virtual experiences for you and your students. And it's a really fun activity that costs you nothing as far as energy is concerned. And that's what we want to do, is preserve your energy as teachers. And we're going to head over here to our why. Remember, we are here doing this to empower, educate, and inspire you, our community, so that you take action to fulfill your purpose and serve others. We appreciate that so much. At this point, we are going to move into our prayer. And before we do that, if you are not going to join us for our prayer, we would love for you to fill out the survey. That survey link is coming again, so please don't forget that. We'd like to hear what topics you want to hear more about. We'd also love to hear how we're doing so that we can keep that line of communication open. And we just want you to know that you are supported. We are walking alongside you, and we appreciate your time with that. So with that, I'd like to slow down, as I had said at the very beginning, and I'm going to ask Ryan to pop on. If you can pop your video on, Ryan, that would be fantastic. And we'll start to move into our prayer this morning.
Thanks, Corey. So the verses on the slide are from Hebrews, and they represent the Apostle Paul's encouragement to a group of people who'd become pretty distant, both geographically and otherwise. And so I thought the verses might be an encouragement for you as they are for me during these especially unique times. And the encouragement really being to not be silent and isolated, but to continue to reach up and reach out through the pursuit of connection, much like webinars like this. So I applaud you all for joining us, and no doubt we're built for community and hardwired for relationship. And so I pray that these verses can continue to remind us of that truth. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for your constant presence in our lives. This morning, Lord, we pray for an extra dose of encouragement, peace, patience, and strength for all those on this call and in our respective school communities. Our administrators, our teachers and staff, the families we're blessed to serve, but most importantly, Lord, all of the students that are entrusted to our care. Father, may your word remind us today that you are the source of our strength. You are the source of our peace, and you still sit on the throne. Now, you did before this virus and will long after it's gone. It is indeed all about you. Lord, we surrender all that we are and all that we do in your name through the gift of education to you. We thank you and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Ryan, we thank you so much for being with us today. And for those of you who do not know Ryan, he is a guru in many respects. Not only does he have a lot of expertise in the Christian school world, but also is working on getting Christian schools and other schools involved in online instruction. So if you have any questions about really taking that next step, moving towards a virtual/blended environment, please reach out to Ryan. And thank you so much for your prayerful companionship for our department and all that you do. Thank you again, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, as we had said before, all of our webinar recordings are at the bit.ly/K12EDDev. The link is also in our chat. Please join us next week for the virtual elementary classroom with Carolyn. Carolyn, you can say hello again if you want to pop your video on. And if you have any particular questions or interests or topics that you would like her to address in the virtual elementary school classroom, please feel free to send an email to our canyonprofdev@gcu.edu. Maybe Amanda can type that in, or I will type it in as well. That's kind of a longer title, but if you have something that you are needing to see as an elementary school teacher, I know that Carolyn will add that to her customized presentation. So, thank you so much, Amanda, for popping that in there. As much as Carolyn wants to tell me, sure, yeah, okay, Corey, whatever you say, right? Thank you. So at this point, it is 10:50. That gives us 10 full minutes to talk a little bit about questions, answers. We had a lot of tools that we shared. If you have questions about MentiMeter, for example, or if you have questions about other polling tools, remember, I also will put tips of the day on, I promised you virtual classroom, I promised, backgrounds, virtual backgrounds. So I'll do a tip of the day on virtual backgrounds. I'm also going to do a tip of the day on Edpuzzle. Marnie just did a great tip of the day on classtools.net. If you haven't seen that, that'll come out pretty soon. And Shonda has, she's our parent view expert, and she put a tip out for parents about how to educate at home, and really good quality educational tools for all of you. So